Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Small Obtainable Goals. Thanks for coming. Today, I'm going to be doing an interview with Brent Terhune. He's a hilarious comedian who you have probably seen a time or two in your scrolling through Instagram, Twitter, or even Facebook, or really any other platform. He's all over the place. He's a great comedian and just an all around great guy. So I hope you guys enjoy it. And if you do, drop a like, comment, subscribe, or, just come back and watch another video. All right, let's get into it.
My name is Brent Terhune. I'm a stand-up comedian, and I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana.
Yep. And uh, how'd you get into comedy?
I first started comedy when I was 16 in high school, performing. They had things called coffee houses, so it was poetry and acoustic guitar, and I just went up and did stand-up for the first time, and I didn't know any better, so it was like I was nervous, of course, but I didn't know I should have been more nervous. And that all kind of started with me watching The Tonight Show with Jay Leno. And, the first 15 minutes of that show was him doing a monologue, doing stand up, and then eventually got to be later and later. And then Conan became the guy that I really looked up to. So,
Because of the red hair?
yeah, well, I would see him at the meetings, the redhead meetings, but
I always loved Conan.
He's more my sense of humor.
Yeah, Conan and Pete Holmes were always my go-to back when they both had shows on TBS.
Yeah, like those guys are. It's like fun humor. Like that.
Mhm.
Sometimes you have a point with your humor, and sometimes those guys. It just let's have fun, So definitely was those guys, and watching stand up from a young age, and then I just did it when I was 16, and I've been doing it ever since.
That's pretty cool. I mean, I always wanted to try it, but I've have horrible social anxiety, so that
I think what a lot of us do, but it's you'll find that I think a lot of people are in the same boat as you, but nobody wants to say that,
Yeah. Do you travel a lot? Like, are you on the road a lot?
Yeah, I try to. My preference would be to work most weeks. Like before pre-pandemic, I was working about 45 to 50 weeks a year, and some of that is I would be in town but working a week of shows. So post-pandemic has been not as much, but then also that time off really makes you think that, oh, I don't have to be doing everything all at once.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people during the pandemic realized, like, oh, I can actually slow down a little bit.
Yeah, and I'd rather work than not, but now I'm like, man, if I have the week off, that doesn't upset me.
Yeah, that's good. When you travel, are you like with are you just by yourself, or are you with other comedians? Or I know that your producer wife, I'm not sure if that's her Christian name or not.
Yeah, it is. It's a Christian name.
Figure.
I'll bring her on. To answer your initial question, sometimes it's me, sometimes it's I can bring somebody. And then sometimes, if producer wife is lucky enough, I'll bring her to all the nice cities like Omaha, Nebraska. Now, I do like Omaha, but she went with me there once. We've done like Niagara Falls up there. So
Cool.
Whenever her schedule allows for her to go with me, because we both like to travel, and that's a great thing about stand up is traveling. But then sometimes you're like, people are like, you get to see all the cool destinations, and then I'm like, well, I got to see the highway between my house and
exactly
the cool it's like sometimes I'm there for work, but then what other job affords you to the benefit of getting to travel? There are many jobs like that, but it's like a lot of people don't get to see the stuff I get to see. So I try to really take advantage of it and go do stuff. I'm not trying to eat at Applebee's if I'm in a town, because I got that at my house,
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
But then sometimes if I can bring a friend on the road, like an opener, or if I, before I was headlining a bunch of stuff, I would be the opener. And it's always just makes travel so much easier when you're with a friend. And if anything, you have something, somebody to complain to, and they can relate to, like, doesn't this suck? Yes, it does.
Then whenever you're traveling, is it like mostly are you mostly driving, or is it planes and stuff too?
It's It's a bunch of everything, but mostly it's driving, and I prefer to drive because I just like then I'm in control and I can kind of then I that really affords me the opportunity to go see the things in a small town, or not a small town
Yeah.
but in the town, you know. But then sometimes it's a plane ride if it's, you know, I'm the quintessential Midwesterner of, oh, it's only 10 hours, well, let's drive, you know. But
Yeah.
if it's too far, I'm like, even, you know, I'm like, let's take a plane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm kind of like that with cars. I'm not a huge fan of flying. Never
Mm-hmm.
have been. I think it's mainly because like if I die in a car, I know it's my fault. But
Mm-hmm.
like if like they're like, oh, the plane's going down, I'm like, I can't do anything. I'm
Yeah.
just gonna sit here and die, I guess.
That's
Okay.
also the beauty of why I do like a plane, because you know, I could worry about it, but what am I gonna do?
Yeah, exactly.
The two people up front with the qualifications, if they can't fix this, then, you know, I
Yeah.
guess we'll say our goodbyes.
Yeah, exactly. You can just sit there and be like, man, it's not my fault. Thank God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So was being comedian, you said you started when you were 16. Was being comedian like your plan since then, or did you like have any other goals that you wanted to hit?
Yeah, it's weird. I was looking through some stuff, and like I went to Catholic school, so like that transition from 8th grade to high school is kind of like a big deal. And we had like these, it was like a end of the year book for our 8th grade year, and they, you know, they asked what do you want to do in the future, and I said I wanted to be a comedian or a radio DJ. And I went to school for radio, and I was on, you know, on air for those 4 years. And then after school, I was like, I could try and get a real job, which to me, a real job back then was radio. And
Yeah.
then, but if you ask most people now, they're like, oh, it's a job, but it's not like a, you know, a construction worker type job, you
Yeah,
know?
exactly.
So I was like, I could get a real job or I could try stand up. And stand up has worked out so far. And, you know, I would recommend to anybody, if you can live with my mom for far longer than you should, I would choose that path because it's
Oh
worked out
yeah,
for me.
no,
Yeah.
it is pretty great. I'm doing that currently.
Hmm.
Um, and I think I'm only like a year younger than you, so you got your shit together way faster than I did.
You know,
So
so eventually you'll get your shit together, I guess. But for now, you just need to get your shit. No,
yeah,
but it's one of those where I
yeah,
was, you know, like I said, I was on the road for 45 weeks a year. So I had an apartment in college, and then after that, moved back in with my mom, and then I've since bought a house, got married, and all that stuff. But like, it didn't really make much sense for me to be paying rent on something when I
yeah,
wasn't
exactly.
even there in the first place, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you're basically a nomad
Yeah, I was
for the
living out of a
majority of it.
suitcase, and you become very comfortable with doing that, or at least I did, you know?
Yeah, that's good. What I'm guessing that like the majority. I've heard you talk in your podcast and stuff about how
Mhm.
you've done shows that are like pretty random at like
Yeah.
some places. I'm guessing so they're not all at like clubs and stuff like that. Do you
Yeah,
ever
you
have any
know,
like thing weird?
you know that when you think of a stand-up comedian, you think of the brick wall behind you, and it's
Yep.
like it's still very 80s. And I wasn't even doing stand-up, but sometimes you could just look at something and it's like that's from the 80s. You think of a comedy club with the brick wall, or you think of the big sold out theater. But there's so many other places to perform, and I'll go wherever, you know, they want me to.
Hmm.
But a lot of the, you know, sometimes you do those shows in a small town, and it's like you could perform in, you know, I'm from Indianapolis, so it's an okay sized city, but there's a thousand things you could do in on a Saturday night in Indianapolis, bars, restaurants, sports, and all that stuff. But when you go to those small towns, sometimes the show is the thing to do in that town, and
Yeah.
they're happy to have you because if they want to go see a big show, they'll have to drive to whatever the big city is, you know.
Yeah.
And
So
you
even
get
though you might not think that you're a headliner for these people.
it's yeah, it's that special, and you know, small towns get a bad rap sometimes, rightfully so, but then also sometimes it's just like, man, it's just people that live in a small town, and sometimes you pull up and it's like, pulling up to Roadhouse and you're like, oh, I guess this is the venue tonight. Or sometimes they have the old theaters, and it's like you don't even ask if it's haunted. You just ask how haunted is it.
Yeah.
But and it's very much sometimes like that the Bob Seger song "Turn the Page," when you walk in the place and everybody turns to look at you and they know that you're not from there, and
Hmm.
you know that they know. So I say on stage, I'm like, sometimes this is a true crime podcast waiting to happen, because I'm the outsider, and if I disappeared, nobody would know.
Yeah.
But you do those small town shows, but then I've done shows at a prison. I've done a nudist resort. Um, I've done shows at like Comic Cons. I've done shows. I'm doing it again actually, but it's at a hardware store. It's a hardware store that has a restaurant inside of it, and they have like banquet space, but it's a true dedicated hardware store. And that, like, they have like, I did it for Valentine's Day, so it's like the people go eat at this restaurant in the hardware store, and then they go to like the garden area where they have this whole stage set up, and they watch us do stand up.
That's pretty cool. I
And
mean,
it works great, but it's also, when you're pitched, hey, do you want to do a show at a hardware store? Of course you say yes for the story, but it's also like, we'll see how this is going to go.
yeah. I mean, it is nice having like one-stop shopping, and I'm guessing those are small towns.
No, this was in Indianapolis. This was like,
Really?
yeah, it was. And again, it's one of those where you're like, this doesn't sound good at all, but then you do it and it's great. But it's like, you can't just do a show at a regular hardware store. Hardware store never has a restaurant that you go. Nobody says, let's go eat at the hardware store.
Yeah.
Like, and you get those types of weird shows and weird venues, but sometimes it just works for whatever reason.
That's pretty cool. Do you ever do like private shows for like people? I feel like those could
Yeah,
get really awkward really quick.
it's I what I would call those are like a corporate gig, and you usually get hired for like a company, and like a John Deere, like having their
Oh yeah.
private Christmas party or whatever. And I've done those, and those can go a couple of different ways, because sometimes, even if you're at a comedy club setting, but there's a group of 20 all from a business, it's really hard to be funnier than their inside jokes,
Yeah.
because they know everybody. They know Bill does whatever, and they
Hmm.
can call back to Bill doing that thing. And it's so, I can't top that because I'm not in the group.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
then cut to me performing for a whole company, and sometimes I'm the last thing before their big break, and
Hmm.
I'm like the waiting room before they get to go do that, not be at work. So I've done those where it's just like, I guess I'm gonna keep talking till I don't have to, and then we'll all go our separate ways. But then sometimes I've had great shows where people want you there, people are excited to have you there. So those can go a couple different ways, but I do enjoy those because it's a different skill level, because usually they want you clean. You can't be talking about certain things at work anyway. So
Yeah. So
it's
you have to like adapt to whatever the situation is. You have to
yeah, and
change your jokes.
I don't, and my jokes kind of fit that already. It's just sometimes I don't do certain bits because it's like nobody wants to hear about politics at
Hmm.
the Christmas party, because they don't want to hear about it at their regular job.
Yeah, exactly. So you're never like going to like random, like you've never had like been called to like a random mansion and then like gone in and just people wearing masks and they were like just tell jokes up there.
Yeah, just do Eyes Wide Shut.
Yeah, you've never been in one of those situations. That's pretty good.
I've not, but I've had friends that perform, like, I've not done this, but like a swingers club, which the nudist resort wasn't that, but I also feel like it's closer to that than not.
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
I've just heard like stand-ups like talk in like interviews and stuff about how like they went to like orgies and they were like performing at like an orgy and I was like,
mhm.
why? I don't think I could like stay up on stage. I guess like you shine the light right in your face,
Yeah,
and then like you can't see what's going on back there, but like I feel like
yeah.
I'd be too much of a people person, like watcher. during
Oh,
that.
definitely. I'd be watching too because part of the job is observing, but also when are you going to be in that situation to begin with? And it's one of those I performed at like nudist resorts or like on a show with burlesque,
Hmm.
and it's hard to beat a half naked person.
Yeah.
Like
It's probably hard to
it's
do crowd work with naked people around too, because you can't be
crowd
like,
work. Yeah,
you look at that guy's balls. Those are weird.
yeah.
You
They
should get
look
those
like
checked
that
out.
guy's ball. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's hard to follow music. So like if it's burlesque, it's a half naked woman usually, but then also music cranked to where you could still talk in the audience and
Hmm.
it's not messing up the performance. Stand up, I need your full attention,
Yeah. I never got like I've seen like stand-up comedians like open for like music acts and stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
like I always feel bad for them because I'm like the majority of the people aren't there to be like, oh, I want to see this 15-minute set from a
Mm-hmm.
comedian. They're like, I want to get to the band. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like you're setting them up to like fail.
Yeah. Anytime there's like you're an opening act for like a big name draw, it's always hard because I know you're not here to see me, but also I got to do this job
Yeah, I
because
got to
that's
get
the
this money.
job, you
So
know?
yeah,
So, yeah, I always just say thank you for coming out to see me specifically and nobody else to acknowledge I know I'm the waiting room before the guy you came to see is going on.
be a pretty great feeling though if they like as soon as you were done with your set, they just all left. They're like,
Let's
all right,
take off.
awesome,
We don't need to
we're
see
good.
you.
Screw Bon Jovi. Well, let's get
That's
the hell
right.
out of here. Now, when you're working in, I know that like a lot of people, their main fear for if they like want to try stand up, aside from the social anxiety, is like hecklers and dealing with
Mhm.
those. Does that happen a lot, or is that like really far and few between, few and far between?
It's been my experience that it's not happened a lot. It definitely has happened. And sometimes there's like different levels of hecklers. Sometimes there's like the person that's not being malicious. They just don't know how to act in public where they're like
Mhm.
chiming in on jokes and laughing and but they're laughing to not in step with everybody
Yeah.
or like they'll have a little conversation and they're sitting right up front and nobody else can hear it, but I can hear it
Hmm.
and it's throwing me off. But how you can't really go off on somebody and yell at them and berate them when nobody else knows what they're doing. Then you just look like a dick.
Yeah, exactly.
Then you get the malicious ones who, and by malicious I mean sometimes there's ill intent and sometimes they're just drunk and not aware of what they're doing.
Hmm.
But even then, like you can't just jump on them and be like, "Do I come to your job?" And like you
Yeah,
can't slam them with heckler lines. You got to give them a couple chances. In my experience,
to settle down.
to settle down, but then also to let the audience know that these people are a problem.
Oh
So
yeah,
if you
that's
do
smart.
go after them verbally,
Hmm.
then people are also like, "Thank God," because sometimes you can go off on somebody, and then the rest, it's it's like I said, some people are like, "Why is he being a dick?"
Yeah,
So you got to give them a little rope to hang themselves. So then you could be like, "Shut up," or get
yeah,
out or
that's
whatever.
smart.
And that's just something you learn because usually when you see it on TV or movies or even you can't scroll on Instagram without somebody doing a heckle video or whatever, and
Hmm.
it's a very heated exchange or whatever. But I think there's a lot that goes into that because if you just go off on somebody, then it's hard to even get back to your regular stand up because who wants to see a guy that they know is angry try and pretend he's not angry?
Yeah, and it's kind of hard to like. You're not really going to top that if
No.
like if it was like their if it was like completely their fault and like everyone's cheering for you, like
Mm-hmm.
you just berated some guy who deserved it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like you can't go back to telling penis jokes or stuff.
It's
Because
and it's sometimes it's like it's hard to top something that was in the moment that'll never happen again, and that'll be the biggest laugh of the night. And then you go back and jokes, but you can't top what was off the cuff and really if you wrote it out, it wouldn't have been that funny. But the
hmm.
fact that you said it at the right time and the right moment, then it was so funny. And then you go back into jokes and I'm like, well, I wish I was as funny as when I said that one thing, as opposed to just saying my regular jokes.
Yeah, yeah, that's probably what it's like with the corporate retreat things and the inside jokes too. Because
Yeah,
you're not going to top the guy who fell down the stairs.
yeah, with the lampshade on his head.
Yeah, exactly. You're not going to top the drunk boss who like hits on all the secretaries and got fired.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't top Bill.
All right, you do a lot of online. I think since I'm guessing it started probably because of the pandemic, you just started doing a lot of online videos like Twitter and stuff like
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
Do you remember the first video that you did that like went viral?
Yeah, and that was actually pre-pandemic, but it's a big timestamp. Was like when Colin Kaepernick started to take a knee. That was the initial
Mm,
one, and maybe that first one wasn't viral, what I would consider viral, but it also like I would check it occasionally, and I remember seeing it like, oh man, this has 10,000 views. Like
yeah,
for a
I don't
guy
know
that did
10,000 person.
Yeah, like for a guy that didn't really make videos and was kind of learning how to do it and edit and all that stuff, 10,000, that's a lot. And depending on who you are, 10,000 is still a lot. But then a year went by and Colin Kaepernick signed the deal with Nike. And I did another video that was in the same vein. And that one was 8 million views. I don't know
Jeez.
what it's at now on Facebook. And, it was weird to you constantly refreshing the phone and there's 100 new comments, and it was just really weird. And then of course you're chasing the high of going quote viral.
Mhm.
And then but then also you're like, how, okay, what do I do with this? So a lot of people will go viral, but they don't have
Yeah, they
something
don't know
to
what to do with
take
it.
on the road. They don't have a show. They're not a performer. So sometimes people they do it backwards, where they've got a big following online, but what do you do with that? And sometimes they do live performance, but they're not a performer. But how do you get good without you just have to be anonymous? But some people, it's like, I also get it. You try to flip it and monetize it, but then sometimes you don't want people leaving your show thinking, oh, he's funnier on the internet than he is in person.
Yeah, yeah.
But that was my first viral thing. Was the second, like, Colin Kaepernick one.
A lot of you do a character. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not gonna lie, you totally got me the first time I saw it
You're
during
welcome.
the COVID things. I was like, this can't be real, can it?
Guy's a
And
dick.
yeah, well, the worst part was that it was because I was like scrolling and I saw your video, but like 3 videos before that, I saw some other guy who was not being like he
Yeah,
was not
and
doing satire, and then
I
like I
do.
figured it out.
Yeah, people
I
say
figured it out
I've
when you did the coughing. When you did the coughing at
yeah.
the end, I was like, "Oh, thank God, he's not an
Thank
idiot."
God. Yeah. Yeah. For the people that are unaware, the character I do is a satirical character that the guy rants in his truck. So if you've seen anybody ever just go off on the front seat, that's that character. And it's more politically slanted. And I've been told I look
Mm.
MAGA E, which is not a compliment, but that's what people say. Um, but yeah, that's that character. So anytime you see a guy rant in his truck, that's what my character is based on.
Yeah, it is pretty accurate. It's a little unsettling how accurate it is because
Oh, okay.
you can see other you can just scroll through and see other videos and you're like, "Oh, this guy is not doing satire." I have an
Yeah.
uncle like that who will like just go on Facebook and be like, "This is bullshit."
It,
They're trying to let kids have litter boxes in school. And I'm just like, what the fuck are you talking
yeah, like it is, I guess it's more a commentary on our society, where it's like, those guys are believable, or a guy that will recommend drinking urine to
about?
to fight COVID or whatever. And it's like, how do you parody clown shoes? They're already big. Do you make bigger shoes?
Yeah, exactly. And then it's, oh my God. I don't know. Some of the crazy, that was one good thing that COVID did. It showed you how crazy people really are.
Oh
And,
yeah, but then it's also like the people are sticking to their guns,
oh,
quite
yeah.
literally. But it's also like, you didn't learn anything, and you're tripling down. But whatever, man.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, whenever people dig their heels into the dumbest shit, you know?
Nobody wants to be wrong, and nobody wants to admit they were wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Uh, I'm sure that you get a lot of backlash for some of your videos, probably
Hmm.
from both sides. How
Hmm.
do you deal with like toxic internet people? Is it the same or like different than dealing with hecklers?
Um,
I would guess that it's
it's
probably a little bit different because everyone can see it and they know like, oh, this guy's an asshole.
yeah, and then usually, sometimes people can know a lot about me and I know nothing about them, but then also sometimes it's hard to tell if you even got the video, if you watched it, and if you watched it, did you understand my intent and that
Yeah.
it's not real? And then if you did, then sometimes people will get mad at that, or other people will get it because they think it is real.
Hmm.
So it's weird because, but then also there are so many people that'll be like, "You're dumb, YOUR," where it's like you're trying to insult me, but you're showing that you are dumb. It's like,
Hmm.
and if you post enough on the internet will let you know about yourself. So I know I'm fat. Nobody knows more than me that I'm fat, and I got a red beard and all the like. So I would rather you, if you're gonna insult me, do it creatively and tell me something I've never heard before. At least make me laugh because I love a good roast. But for you to just be like, "You're stupid," it's like, okay, but there's no creativity to that.
Yeah. And it's always, stupid with two O's and a P.
Yeah, yeah. This guy's a idiot. All right.
I'm sure that you probably get it from both sides of the political spectrum. Like,
Hmm.
I'm guessing that a lot of the people who are on the left that hate your videos don't watch more than like 3 seconds of them, and they're like,
Hmm.
"This guy's such a freaking idiot."
Yeah.
And then the people on the right will watch it and be like, I like this guy. I like
Hmm.
this guy." And then they get to the end and they're like, "Wait a minute, is he making fun of us?"
Yeah, but then some people don't get that. I've had people
Yeah,
be like, "My uncle shares your videos, but he doesn't know." So it's just like, you
that's
know,
awesome. Have you ever gotten like anything like positive, like I don't like a response that's like, you actually changed someone's mind. They were like, "Oh, I never thought of it like
hmm,
that. I did sound like an asshole because I was ranting like that."
I don't know if I've ever changed hearts and minds. I don't. That's really hard to do.
I
I
know.
have, I have gotten like, "Oh, I like your videos. Really helped when I was bummed out or whatever." Like, I get a lot of people saying you helped me get through COVID because a lot of my videos were timely of
Oh
let's
yeah, no,
comment
you
on what's
helped
happening.
me get through it.
Oh, cool. Thank you. But I'm a firm believer, and I'm sure we'll touch on this later, but it's like we could either laugh or cry about things. So
Hmm.
let's laugh about it. And I've gotten a lot of people saying, "Oh, thanks for the levity and all that stuff." But it's also that was levity for me. Like it's almost therapeutic to make jokes about things.
Yeah, it is always nice to be able to, just laugh about the dumbest shit. I don't.
Yeah,
I have
because there we could laugh or cry, and I'd rather not mess up my mascara.
exactly. Who wants runny mascara?
No, sir.
Thank you for watching Small Obtainable Goals. Hopefully, this helped you in some way or another, or it can, help somebody that you know. If you're having trouble, call 988. That's the National Suicide Prevention Hotline, and they'll, hook you up with somebody who can help you in your local area. It's all free, so, you know, take advantage of it. And yeah, like, comment, subscribe, or don't, whatever makes you happy. I'm Sean. This is my sister,
I'm
Kirsten.
Kirsten.
Yeah,
Oh,
you've ruined it. All right. Thanks, everybody.
and cut.